Now, Invincible destroyed the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, disclaimer, fam. I'm not huge into the MCU. You put MCU as the title, which means the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, just a disclaimer. Well, that's not what the video is about. If it's good storytelling, then I'll like understand very easily. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's check it out.
Invincible is everything the modern MCU
Snap, bro. Okay. The volume level on this one caught me by surprise. 1 second. Yeah.
isn't. After an incredibly strong season 1 that set the ball rolling, the new season hasn't been putting any punches either.
So it's a new animated series. Didn't even know. I did. It might be funny, but I didn't know that they were still making like cinematic universe like animes. Like you can call this like a USA anime. You know what I mean? That's what the USA is all about. Kind of stuff they put out. You know what I mean? We're not making like standard animes.
Its bold and fresh take on the genre, along with its incredible writing and twists, have made it an instant classic. When you compare it to what the MCU has been pumping out recently, the difference in quality is clear. Flop after flop after flop has proven they just can't learn their lesson. And if it keeps on carrying like this, Invincible is going to destroy the MCU. Watching DC and Marvel films alone would make you think that the superhero genre is on its last legs. The same stories over and over again with awful characters and even worse writing is getting to even the most hardcore of Marvel.
Worse writing? Looks like we need like the next technological advancement to take the world by storm. I don't know. It could be just a target audience thing as well. Because as we get older, we get less free time, right? Can't really get engulfed in the whole lore as much. Got responsibilities now.
Marvel fans by now. So what's Invincible done differently? On the surface, Invincible might look like any other superhero property. Tons of the characters are clearly borrowed versions of other famous heroes. Omni-Man is clearly inspired by Superman. Darkwing is a counterpart to Batman. Monster Girl and her transformation power is obviously drawing from the Hulk.
Yeah, what else could you draw? She's turning into the Hulk. He's definitely
Hulk. Along with the characters, the world is clearly drawing from superhero tropes as well. Cecil in the Global Defense Agency, fill in for the shadowy government agency putting the strings from behind the scenes. All the heroes.
yes, the shadowy government kind of a figure. All
Have their
right.
own secret identities as well. If you can name
They got like a fish is with them as well. Is this the protagonist? I assume it
a
is.
superhero trope, it's probably in there. The difference comes with what Invincible and its writers have actually done with these archetypes and characters. All the ingredients for a light-hearted, fun comic book show are there.
Whoa.
And the first
Wait, was there a comic book first with this? Because I don't know.
episode makes you think that's all it's going to be.
If there's a comic book first, you can already learn about the characters before the stuff gets released. Before the show gets released.
This cheerful version of the Justice League facing off against two cartoonishly simple and outmatched villains. That is until it's in
Oh snap, bro. Blood everywhere. I don't remember them being like this, bro, but I've seen. I only remember Spider-Man in the 90s, bro. I did not know that we still make stuff like this.
Mixed R-rated violence and colorful comic book superheroes isn't completely unique, but the
Yeah, R-rated violence. Man, they should have went. They probably should have went for like the get on like some like Cartoon Network or something, right? They said R-rated, so it's for adults, right?
execution is incredible.
Jeez, bro, look at all this blood and gore, man. The bloodbath, bro.
The final scene from episode 1 is a masterclass in how to shock the audience and give way.
Look at this, bro. Like all of them are dead, or bro, is it gonna be like one of those shows where, one of those shows where like they just are revived to the next episode, but they get killed off there, like Kenny from South Park situation, bro. It's like a mass, like something out of a cartel, bro. Like
weight to what's happening. The music is also particularly impressive, starting out in usual Marvel fashion with an ominous orchestral swell. As the fight continues, it keeps building just as expected. But once Omni-Man makes the first kill, it completely cuts out, leaving the audience alone as the carnage unfolds. It's this scene that
Kind of gruesome, isn't it? Look, I don't go out of my way to watch this kind of stuff.
illuminates one of Invincible's greatest strengths, and something that's clearly missing from the modern MCU: unpredictability and actual stakes. It shows the audience that nobody's safe. Characters which are introduced as the top heroes of the world get dispatched one by one. While it's obviously animated and cartoonish, the violence is realistic in its speed and its impact. It tells
So in the first episode, all the protagonists get murdered. What? What kind of show is this?
that
I thought it was about being invincible.
anyone could go at any time. Nobody is safe and real. Tangible danger is always around the
That's how life works.
corner, and the whole show keeps this tension going expertly. An often underrated scene is when Omni-Man goes to see his tailor, Art. Without any overt threats or menace, the point comes through incredibly clearly. Omni-Man simply flicking the top of a beer bottle is all Omni-Man needs to demonstrate the fact that he could end Art's life in a split second.
Is that the reference? Bro, what does that even mean, bro? Like, yes, the world is dangerous, but most of the time, we're not in danger. And
stands in stark contrast to the post-Endgame MCU, where you already know pretty much everything
like an earthquake can strike at any second here.
that's going to happen before the movie even starts. The main characters will be safe
I don't know why I talked about that, fam, but
for the end. They always win eventually. The fights will be visual spectacles, sure, but they never have the impact that Invincible can accomplish with just a few frames of animation. They're simply roller coasters. The ride might be fun the first few times, but MCU films always end up right back at the start, ready to make the same twists and turns all over again. It's a formula they've been milking for nearly 2 decades, but over that time, the characters like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America that drew people in have nearly all gone. In their stead is a collection of former side characters who, despite their actors' best efforts, just don't cut it as a main attraction. That, or they use movies
dang, screw them for trying to get new characters on the show, right? MCU, they do really good with their movies, though. It's hard to compare animated shows with MCU movies, let's be real.
to try and force through a political message. Before, when the MCU still packed a punch, these were nuanced discussions. The Russo brothers and their 2 Captain America movies had these layers. The Winter Soldier and Civil War was a story about Captain America defeating a shadowy organization and facing his past. Underneath that though, there was a real discussion about
There's always some sort of like government, like huge, like big governments in these MCU movies that they go against. Why though? Why?
government and the middle ground between safety and control. How
Or big corporate America.
much freedom do you trade away for that? And how can you trust those in power to know the responsibility that comes with that? These were the questions the movie was posing. Sure, you might be able to trust a perfect person to operate without rules for the good of everyone, but even Captain America wasn't perfect, and the Avengers Authority was in conflict with the actual rules that everyone else lives by. People still disagree about whether Iron Man was right or
And what I mean by that is like corrupt government, by the way, guys. Like the corrupt parts of it. Not just like how it usually the government usually operates.
Captain America was justified, but as the MCU progressed, these discussions melted away, replaced by what boardroom executives think the audience wants to see. At first, it was just a few scenes, like the
Yeah, that's how it usually goes. Whatever the execs want to.
infamous "she's got help" part from the final battle of Endgame.
That's a good view, though, right? I haven't even seen this movie.
She's got help.
It was ridiculous.
Yes, all you know, there's gonna be that giant scene where it's just the final battle. So everybody's gotta like group together in one like arena.
In its
Like almost every movie does that, action movie.
execution, getting pretty much every single female character to pose for the camera and wow the audience with their presence. This scene became the template for entire movies like the Marvels, which was completely predictably a failure. Instead of just owning their status as a
See, now he's talking about like he's gonna mention a bunch of movies that I just haven't seen because I'm so far behind.
popcorn film, or going deeper and actually trying to start a conversation, these movies rely on something else entirely. A mixture of identity politics, omnipotent strong female characters, and a world that changes to accommodate them rather than the other way around. The main hero starts out as the most competent, powerful people in their little world. The rest of the movie is just the other characters slowly coming to realize it. Watching Invincible only drives this point deeper, but not for the reason you might expect.
A good observation. Okay.
When the first season released, barely anyone had anything bad to say about it. That was except for the
92. Wow. Wow.
character of Amber,
Here comes the memes.
Mark's girlfriend.
Jeez,
Over the
bro.
course of the show, they constantly drive it in that she's just the best person that's ever existed. Countless times they show her talking about or doing charity work.
Helping build schools. It was one of those group volunteer things.
Meanwhile, Mark is trying to balance his hero life with his normal life, and he constantly stands
So he doesn't like the plot? Well, it's a series. It's up to them to make it that interesting, so that it can run as many seasons as The Simpsons, bro. It's a hard thing to do. Plus, it's not even a comedy. I don't think action, like animated shows, do the best for it that are aimed towards adults, bro. But I don't see them like going towards comedy with like this type of genre anytime soon.
her up without telling her why. Amber's rightfully annoyed, and they go
Genre, like halfway comedy, halfway action, guys.
through the classic teenage romance drama because of it. Still, the entire world seems to think she's always right, despite the fact that she barely shows any sympathy when she's told Mark was hit by a bus. All of this comes to a head when everybody's attacked on a trip to a college. Mark runs off to change into Invincible. Then he saves their lives. But to Amber, it just looks like he left them for dead. You can understand why she breaks up with him
Invincible.
after that, not knowing the truth. The problem comes later when they reveal that she'd known he was a superhero for weeks. She still blamed him for not going out on dates with her, even when she knows that Mark is risking his life to save other people. Then after the finale,
Dang, bro, they could have rebooted Batman. They could have rebooted Superman. That still would have brought us a little bit of backlash.
she just walks back into
But this went under my nose, bro. I did not know about Invincible till this video.
Mark's arms, like he was in the wrong the entire time. It's like they added a tiny bit of the modern MCU into Invincible, and their treatment of her character is one of the only criticisms you can really level at the show. But what we've seen of season 2 so far gives us a reason to keep hoping. Clearly, the writers listened to the feedback they got and did some rethinking, as her character completely changes. She accepts Mark's responsibilities, and they outweigh her own needs. She's supportive and kind, a complete reversal of her antics in season 1. It might have been a little more satisfying to see Mark actually confront her and stand up for himself, but it's not a huge issue, and it shows that the writers
I feel. I'm sorry, I didn't talk much during that segment because I don't know what he's talking about, fam. I haven't seen the show.
in the show
I'd have to. I don't have the time to do all that research, fam.
runners are
Synopsis. Probably should have read that before watching this.
willing to listen to the fans and the audience. They know that they messed up a character before, and there are scenes that seem like they're specifically meant to fix those issues. It's completely the opposite of what the MCU has been doing. Time and time again, they've been making the same sorts of inconsistent, poorly written movies, appealing to an audience that just doesn't exist outside of the minds of executives. There are
Dang, bro. This guy's flaming the whole MCU's business model, bro. Hey. Flaming the subject matter, it helps make the video longer.
there are some forces outside of their
And it's kind of funny, right?
control working against them, of course. Invincible's production timeline is much shorter than your average $300 million Marvel production. There's years in between the script getting written and the final film actually coming out. They might know now that diversity fodder and pandering films aren't really
Like, the amount of actors, the amount of budget just to make this scene. Jeez.
working anymore. But it won't change the films they've pretty much made already.
Yeah, this is all the films they made, fam. Yeah, look at all of them, bro. It's just I don't have enough time to, bro. If they stop putting out so many freaking movies and made like, just a couple movies every few years or something, like one movie every few years, bro. Then, like Avatar. As Avatar 2 came out, bro, let me look. It just came out and I haven't seen it. It has, well. I gotta go see that.
already. Even with
3-hour movie.
this incredibly generous view of it all though, they're still obviously forcing something that anyone should know doesn't work. The 2016 Ghostbusters remake should have been all the information they need to know that gender swapping the characters, throwing in some girl power scenes, and releasing the film isn't enough to make people like it.
Ghostbusters.
It's a lot to sit down and watch, bro. I'll be down to watch a lot of this stuff when I retire.
2016 was quite literally the perfect storm of everything that people hate about modern Hollywood.
It looks embarrassing.
The only movie I want to see is the Super Mario movie right now, bro.
Embarrassing when you compare it to the original that was made 30 years ago, and that still holds up. The effects in that movie are still amazing after all this time.
The fact that they're still doing it nearly a decade later shows how out of touch the MCU, Disney, and their executives truly are. Invincible shows us how to write characters properly, not based on glorifying whatever checkbox their identity fits into, but actually treating them like a real person. A perfect example is Debbie, Omni-Man's wife and Mark's son. One difference between her and cookie cutter strong female protagonist archetype is that she actually has agency. She's her own person with her own nuanced personality. When her doubts are raised,
personality.
she investigates Nolan herself. She gets the truth herself, and then she's left to deal with the consequences. She's strong, but not in some better than every other single character way, but in a down to
Okay.
realistic way. Nolan might be one of the strongest people on the planet physically, but Debbie is clearly stronger emotionally. In the end, it overcomes Nolan's physical strength. Her impact on Mark is what saves the world, and when Nolan is trying to convince Mark to help him, it's his
Well, spoiler alerts, fam.
comment that she's like a pet that sets him
Why are his eyes red?
over the edge and convinces him to resist. It's a perfect example of the kind of
So is that his dad?
writing that just isn't present in the MCU anymore. It lays the foundations for dark and dramatic moments that aren't constantly being undercut by jokes. In fact, Invincible even cuts away from the
Yeah, I get what you're saying. When, like, you know, it's a dramatic moment, and then the joke, it kind of like changes the mood a little. It's a little bit unsettling, bro. Like, I was in the moment, and now you just popped a joke. So my mind's thinking, like, I don't know.
action towards the end of the finale to add more character development, to set the stage for the internal conflict that's driving them. It's like the opposite of what the MCU would have done in a similar scene. The show even subtly makes fun of the way every superhero becomes a one-line comedian. In the MCU, these moments used to be a refreshing break, but now they're so common that they make it seem like nobody's taking anything
Whoa.
seriously.
Twerking in the movie?
Might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Cat.
That's a Hulk then, right?
I'm always angry.
How is the audience meant to get invested in the big CGI fights when the characters aren't? Inserting that into Invincible would just
Hey, if the movie was 5 hours long of character development, would you get that invested?
be ridiculous. Like if Omni-Man made a pun about missing his stop during the train scene. Invincible proves that superhero fatigue isn't a real thing. In fact, people are as excited as ever to see more of these stories, but only if they're done right. The real issue with the MCU, and the reason everybody got tired of it, runs much deeper. Its success was its downfall. People got invested into the main characters, the main plotline, and the overarching arc with Thanos. It's like they're just trying to figure out where to go next.
This movie took the world by storm, but ever since then, what else has been like huge that Marvel's been putting out? 'Cause I don't know. I guess Spider-Man too, but like, you know, it's something for the fandom, and I haven't really been big into the fandom, so.
Iron Man, the hero who started it all, is gone now, as well as Captain America. Thor stayed on for a while, but he couldn't even carry his own Phase 4 film. The next big villain hasn't really come into it at all. They didn't need another Thanos, of course, but a reason to care about the movie outside of whatever contrived stakes they set up is key. The MCU is just confused now. It lost all the momentum that made Infinity War and Endgame such massive events. The motivation got drowned in a sea of mediocre spin-off shows, side characters, and simply poor movies. On top of all of that, each Marvel film
You said poor movies?
to stand on its own. Their connections with the rest of the MCU were subtle, sometimes completely relegated to the end credits
Hey, bro, it's like COD, man. You get a movie every year, bro. Mid-tier, maybe. Like, I don't want to say that about them, but like, I mean,
Now,
you get what you pay for. You get what you wait for.
watching a modern Marvel film feels like starting a movie 2/3 of the way through. They're so reliant on the other films for their reason to exist, whilst also not contributing to any actual overarching plot in a clear, noticeable way. The comics and the actual source material have ceased to matter entirely, replaced by whatever boardroom of executives decide will play well to focus groups. Invincible doesn't have this problem. The story is all set out, and it's gonna get crazy. Every scene and episode matters because it moves that story forward. The stakes in the universe seem real
Yeah, but there's so much gore.
because the characters seem real. It's even going to do the multiverse angle better. Starting with Endgame, the multiverse becomes the ultimate cop-out for the writers. Instead of actually mattering for the plot, it's just a one-stop shop to fix the plot of a movie. Or it's just used to push in cameos from other superheroes
This feels like a ad for MCU fan.
that wouldn't fit otherwise. Cameos that don't just mean nothing, but actually undermine the characters themselves.
That guy, that robot right there looks like a Bionicle.
For anyone who liked the Fantastic Four and Mr. Fantastic himself, his cameo in the Doctor Strange movie must have been so disappointing. He teleports in, gets called the smartest man alive, reveals his friend's powers, causing him to instantly die. Then he just dies as well. Scenes like that one that just destroy parts of the Marvel universe a dime a dozen
They were trying to piss off the fans with that one, maybe.
now. Invincible doesn't have this problem though. It doesn't have to rely on cheap nostalgia and recognition to give weight to its stories. It obviously borrows tropes and archetypes from superhero comics, but it builds on them and turns them into something new. The first episode is a great example, as we see the status quo of the Justice League protecting the Earth from cartoonish villains. A world where the heroes and the villains fight. The heroes win,
Oh man, he's got an injury right there, and not a spot you'd want to injure.
and then everything just goes back to normal. Then that all gets thrown on its head in one final scene. All the work the episode did in setting up those characters gets violently destroyed. We see the consequences every time something happens. The characters go through loss, regret, and every other emotion.
Man, it feels like they're. See, if they don't bleed, they won't pass away as quickly. It doesn't look like they're that hurt, and now I know why Dragon Ball Z didn't have blood or anything.
As the world changes around them. Even
Yeah.
Omni-Man isn't impervious to it. When Mark gets
Nah, bro, he looks like he needs to be in the hospital. Like he looks in pain, bro. This is the stuff. This is how my dreams feel like right here.
his powers, he's distressed because it means he's run out of time. The world and the family he built are over now. He's caught between Viltrum and Earth. If Mark hadn't gotten his powers, he could have waited until his family had passed away, then gotten on with his mission. Instead, he's got to tear them apart. This
Canada logo. Don't see that many logos in these animated films on any character's shirts.
focus on consequences and keeping one foot in reality is what sets Invincible apart and makes every fight and conversation matter so much more. Which other superhero show has so many scenes that take place in hospitals? Any
That'd be cool if the hospital looked like that.
characters could die, nobody is safe. Even Mark, despite being the main character and actually being called Invincible, is a punching bag more often than not. But each fight makes him learn another lesson and pushes his character forward towards a
Oh, we got some Dragon Ball Z like scene right here.
concrete conclusion. It isn't like the MCU, which is based around a sitcom style of storytelling. There's no constant cycle where every episode and plotline ends with everything going back to the way things were. Just as superhero comics progress towards this way of structuring a story, comic book films and shows are catching up as well. Superheroes aren't
Oh, but like they want it like that. They want this huge like story advancement, like maybe a huge character passes away or villain, and then the next day they're talking on their forums about and stuff about how they're angry this character has passed away. So, what do they want? What do they want? Now, should they make a spin-off where he gets revived? Who knows?
a dying breed like some people would think after seeing the MCU's collapse. Instead, the genre is changing and evolving into something better, with shows like Invincible and The Boys leading the way. Meanwhile, the MCU is shooting itself in the foot. It was expected that there would be some kind of drop-off after Endgame, without all the famous characters that built it all. But even then, the performance has been truly dismal. Every single aspect of the films has gotten worse. Special effects are even down the drain. Just look at Thor: Love and Thunder. Despite working their VFX artists down to the bone for years on end, they've barely got anything to show for it. Sometimes artists were given just weeks
Dude, every single scene is like CGI edited, bro. What do you mean?
to create a complete scene. A crazy task considering the whole movie is pretty much filmed on a green screen anyway. In the 2000s,
Real?
700 shots that make up Infinity
Okay, it's kind of lazy.
War, only 80 didn't have VFX in them. Like most of the problems with Marvel, it's a result of corporate greed on the parts of Disney.
Why does he keep showing that scene, bro?
Despite raking in untold billions from these movies, they're still understaffing artists and forcing them into permanent crunch time. As their films perform worse and worse, there will be even less money in the budget,
Yeah, I'm also getting bad payments.
and the effects will only get
Thank you for the sub.
worse. Then there's all the long shows that barely anyone watches. One Division, for example, had more VFX shots and work than the entirety of Endgame. Marvel keeps throwing more stuff at the
Thank you for the sub.
wall, hoping it will stick, but every time they do, they just make the problem worse. Saving money by hiring amateur writers and directors isn't helping either. It's a problem that extends across the whole production, and it's being
Guys, 6,000. I think we're at 6,500 subs. Thank you, fam. On to 7,000. I think we'll do something special for 6,500. Usually I don't do the something special for 500, but this month This month has been slow for subs for us, past 2 months rather. So, we'll do a stream on YouTube for 6,500 subs
Been going on for
and 2,000 followers, or no, actually 1,500 followers.
years now, and it's pretty hopeless that we'll see a transition back towards quality anytime soon. The Boys and Invincible dodge this problem in different ways. The Boys places tons of emphasis on physical effects. Invincible is animated, so it's a completely different story. But they don't get bogged down in multiple movies, TV shows, and properties all coming out at once. When spin-offs do come out like Gen V or the Atom Eve episode, they only build on previous success rather than
They could have like put a ton of budget into an animated film, like a completely animated film, but they didn't. They're like, yo, let's go with the Invincible. Let's just draw it out for 20 potentially 20 seasons. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out Moon in the Description. Amazon really scored some huge points here. Having both Invincible and Boys under their streaming service was a worthy bet for them. I ain't got no money for 10 different streaming services, bro. But when I do, then I'll have a different opinion. I'll see you next one, fam.